Guess who's gonna present here? Your hand. Your hand.
Okay.
Guess who's gonna present to the.
All right, great evening all. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. We can start today's meeting with introductions.
I'm David Warner, board member, father of a former kindergartner who is now done with grad school.
Jamal Thomas, a former Woodlands graduate and now board member and chair of this esteemed committee.
Johan Snaggs, Fairview resident, two-time parent of Woodlands graduate, chairman of the Fairview Empowerment Group.
Giovanna Mateos, I'm a parent of a second grader and a seventh grader here in the Greenburgh School.
And I see Edith, Sylvia, and Naima.
Hi, this is Edith Horn. I am a retired teacher from one of the public schools here in Westchester County, 40 years of experience. And I've joined the PTA Council and I'm working with the PTA. I'm working with the PTA. Thank you. Vice President. I didn't want to, I didn't go there, but since you went there, yeah, I'm the vice president, Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm just Jamal, I'm just having one question because I came a little late. I'm sorry. Are you sharing the screen with us or no?
Yes, I'm currently just sharing the agenda.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. I see Naima next.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. How are you? Just a quick introduction. Go.
I'm sorry, I totally missed that. I was talking to my daughter. So I'm sorry, what did you want us to just say our name and anything else?
Yeah, name, where you're from, connection to the community, anything to that effect.
All right, good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Naima Cook. I have two children. I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my 4-year-old is currently in the early childhood program. And I also attended school in Greenburgh.
Thank you. And then Sylvia.
Oh, good evening, Sylvia Simon, a long-term resident of Greenburgh, and I've been involved with the schools on and off for the last 25 years. So I just drop in periodically to see what's going on.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we will move on to adopting our meeting minutes from the last meeting. So David was gracious enough to handle notes last meeting. The attendees were myself, Mr. Warner, Dr. Iverson, Jackie Burton, Edith Horn, Donna Morton, Stephen Morton, Samantha Ives, Kelly Ross Johnson, and Dr. Betty Perkins, Zachary Baker. And we started the meeting at 7 o'clock. There were some members in person and others on Zoom. After the introduction, I was elected as chair of the committee, and we normally just say CEC committee, but I think we got to start giving communications as due and calling it the CECC. David has been doing that, and I am going to follow. So we adopted the meeting minutes of our 6/13/22 meeting. I'm not going to read through all of the details on this. You guys can kind of take a quick look through.
Take up the point size.
What'd you say?
Could you zoom in a little bit so people could actually see?
No, that would be me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't really have a way to.
It should be like,
There we go. I zoomed in. I mean, that's.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, for everybody who was at the meeting can kind of take a look. If there's anything that you feel like is missed here, we can get it added. Otherwise, we will adopt these minutes. Okay. Anyone else need more time to look through?
The second page.
So I don't hear any mistakes, or I move that we adopt our 9/12/22 meeting minutes.
Second, the motion
The motion,
to adopt the minutes.
I thought that's what I just did.
You moved, I seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, guys. Meeting minutes are adopted. Okay, we're going to move on to designate of committee members. So in our last, I just had this open. During our last school year, the members of the committee were as follows. If you just give me a moment, I had it. Lost it. So David, actually, while I'm looking this up, for everybody who was already on the committee, Liz, Samantha, Giovanni, Sarah, Stephen, Jessica, Kelly, Mary, do they need to do anything to continue to be?
They must tell you that they want to continue to be on.
Okay.
They don't have to show up at this meeting to tell you that, but they have to come tell you at some point, email, or
Got
phone call, anything you want.
Got it.
And then you hand it off to the district clerk. It goes on the agenda. The Board of Education passes a resolution and draw on for another year.
Okay.
And also invite people who haven't been on in previous years.
Yes.
And this only comes, all are welcome to this committee. This only comes into play if we have something we want to make a formal recommendation to the board about, if we want to spend money in some way, but maybe we think there should be, this position that wasn't there before, or this piece of software to help with communications, or anything that requires any real resources, then you make a formal recommendation. And if everybody agrees with it, it's not a problem. But if it's controversial, then you need to know who can vote and who can't. And then, a majority of the people saying yes, who are present, would then pass the recommendation on the board.
Got it. So for our 2022-2023 school year, I'm going to get an email out to the folks who were committee members last year to see if they would like to continue so. And I will ask everybody in attendance tonight, is there anyone who would like to be considered a voting member of the Community Engagement and Communications Committee?
Hi, Jamal. I want to be Kelly Ross Johnson. I'm already on there, but you can check me out.
Okay, so Kelly, I have you as 1 and 2.
Exactly what does the commitment consist of?
There's no additional commitment. It's about attending the meetings, but you're not required to be here. But as David mentioned, if there is something that we will be voting on, you will have an opportunity to do so. Last year, I don't know that we voted on anything, but if that does come up, you'll be empowered to be able to provide your vote.
How often do you meet?
We meet around once a month.
So I would be on it, no problem.
That's Sylvia.
Sylvia Simon.
I think Mr. Snaggs is thinking about it.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you guys on that.
Okay. All right, so what we will do from here is find out from the remainder of the community members who would like to be a part of the committee, and we will then have at one of the board meetings, upcoming board meetings, we will take a vote, and I imagine there won't be anybody who won't be able to join the committee. So thank you guys for that. Up next, we have schools as community infrastructure. So, this is the Community Engagement Committee. We obviously have been doing a lot with regard to our strategic plan. And you got that? With the strategic plan, some of that certainly has to do with, how we connect the community. But I came across a white paper done by the Siegel Endowment, and I wanted to share some of the thoughts with the community. It's something I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of hit a couple of pages and some things that stood out to me in terms of the way that they connect to our strategic plan. And it's my hope that it kind of spurs some thinking with the rest of the committee. And if anyone else has thoughts on ways that this might be of assistance in how we operate community engagement and connecting it to the strategic plan, we will take notes on other folks' thoughts. So yeah. So it's called School as a Community Infrastructure. So it's kind of a different paradigm to just necessarily, community engagement. It's actually making an attempt to make the school the center of our communities. One thing of note here was the idea of the physical buildings, along with the ways that we operate connectedly digitally and socially. So right now, one of the things that we've discussed at length is welcome back. One of the things that we have discussed at length is our communication and the various different platforms we're going to utilize. So this particular, white paper goes into the importance of that, and it speaks to how a variety of school districts are working to make sure that these things operate and work together in a seamless fashion.
Oh, no, he's not having him right there.
So here's just a, kind of an image that they provided, where it speaks to kind of, technology enabled learning. These are some of the things that we have talked through when it comes to the infrastructure of our schools in our strategic plan. You have a social emotional learning, something that I've thought about as I was going through this, and I listened to a video that where they were describing this, is some communities where they are reaching out to various different people who are in the psychology field and having them come in as members of the community to kind of connect with students. Giving an opportunity for places like playgrounds and recreation to not just be someplace where the kids come and play, but where they also have additional opportunities to learn, and additional places for the community to engage and come together. In terms of food security, we've obviously had lots of communication around our school lunch, but how do we extend that conversation to the remainder of our community, perhaps with like restaurants and things to that effect. And again, I'm not going to read through each and every one. I just wanted to kind of give some high level stuff and then see if any of this kind of resonates with folks in the ways that it did for me. From an infrastructure perspective, one of the things that when I looked at the strategic plan that struck me is, there's $100 million number on, what it's going to take to get our infrastructure together. And, as far as I understand, we don't have it. So we're going to have to do an incredibly masterful job of helping the remainder of the community understand why it is so important for us to upgrade said infrastructure. And one of the things that reading through this, what came up for me is the idea that if other people and parts of the community are able to utilize the infrastructure, because the school is kind of that center, if you start to bring together components where it's not just the school being utilized from 9 to 5, but that it's being utilized again as a place where we organize all of the various different components, physical, digital, social, that are kind of referenced here. It gives, I think, the rest of the community a lot more buy-in whenever it comes to finding ways to come up with the money that it's going to take to really get our schools to where they need to be. And so that the infrastructure ultimately it can have educational benefits, but it can have benefits to the broader community as well. When we talk about,
Can I throw something in?
Sure, please.
Okay. So I will tell you that the $100 million is not something that's there. So I want to find a way of doing $100 million worth of work without spending $100 million.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to lay that to the side. But the one thing I have noticed so far in what you said regarding infrastructure is that I believe what we talked about a little bit at our last meeting was the word silo, that we don't want everything to be in different silos where people don't notice the interactions and interdependencies between things.
Right.
And so I'm looking and saying, okay, so I've got my strategic plan and my goal areas are student success, infrastructure, communications, climate and culture, and premier workforce. And the question is, what are the interactions between the various goals so that we don't end up with like one committee does this and then they don't talk to anybody else, and then you end up with, oh, here's the most beautiful building in the world, but no one can get to it because there's no mass transit here, right?
Right.
That kind of stuff. Because you didn't think about the social aspect to go with the infrastructure aspect.
Got it.
So I'm thinking it's pretty obvious that student success and designing the classroom of the future and all of that feeds into what you do when you design your infrastructure. It also feeds into what you do when you design your technology and what your technology will be. Now, I hadn't thought of it until you came up with this report, but the climate and culture piece may also determine how, okay, I'm trying to have an environment in which people can interact socially in various ways, and therefore I've got to make it a friendly place in addition to a place where you can learn a lot of things. So I can see that there are two sets of interactions right there between student success and climate and culture and infrastructure. And I don't know where community fits in. I kind of think that maybe the communications goals should have something to do with community, because who are you communicating with? And I've got to see if the communications portions deal with that. But if you're also talking about bringing in people for various purposes from other parts of the community, that probably fits in infrastructure as well. So I can see all these arrows pointing at infrastructure. I'm not sure whether arrows are pointing back in different directions, but those are the clear things that I see so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to the climate and culture component, it has to do with meetings like this, but more, and not necessarily just a meeting for the sake of a meeting, but where there's a larger group of people together who are communicating about the future of the district and all right now on the strategic plan. When you look at it, there's a lot of things on there, and we're going to not just ask of the administration, and it's not just going to be asked of the teachers, it's going to be asked of the whole entire community if the strategic plan is actually going to work. It's going to take all of us. And again, the reason why I brought this together, I just thought some of the illustrations in terms of the way they put it together, it made it quite a bit clearer in my mind. And then they also, towards the tail end, and like I said, I'm not going to go through all of them, they gave some examples of what other school districts are doing in order to actually to implement this type of thing. And it seems like, these are the ways in which, 21st century learning and community development, it seems like this is what it's going to need to be in my estimation. But, hopefully other people will get a chance to, I'm going to send this to, I think I sent it to most people. If I did not, I will link it to the agenda item on it. So anybody who wants to see this will be able to just click on the current agenda item. And I think did you have something you want to say?
No, I'm very interested to see that document. I'll have my turn to speak, but I see some synergies between the engagement element and what I think we might be able to bring to the table as well.
Absolutely. So I think there was just one last piece that stuck out to my mind is just the idea that the American Society of Civil Engineers graded American school infrastructure a D+. So one, we don't feel so alone, when we think about the challenges, as it pertains to infrastructure. This is something that's going on, all over the country. But what does it look like for us to be one of those beacons and one of those examples where we're a story inside of white paper like this, explaining to people how our community has come together, to fill in many any of the gaps that, that currently exist. So I'll stop there, see if anybody has any questions or additional thoughts on what's been presented so far.
You say you send it?
I'm going to link it to the agenda. And I'll send it to you. Are the hands up? Sylvia? I'm sorry.
If you're looking at this as a community center, as a community and focus of the community, you have to look at it as nourishing all members of the community. So I'm looking at especially a lot of the technology. A lot of seniors have no clue. That is a way of having students instruct adults. So you have to look at it as a two-way street, as everyone getting nourished in this environment. And you just look at all of the stakeholders as having some ability to get nourished in this environment.
Thank you so much for that point, Sylvia. I believe that is something that is spoken about in the overall white paper, the idea of intergenerational kind of learning, and that again is what it means to have the school as the center of the community, so that even people who are not necessarily going to quote unquote school, that there are things that they can come into the building to learn, and there's ways that they can engage both to help students as well as to be helped by students.
Which is an excellent way to have much more communication and intergenerational.
And I think that it does once again relate to the overall climate and culture of the community. So just bringing it back to how it relates to the strategic plan that we are currently working on. Ms. Horn?
Yes, are any of these ideas in the strategic plan already?
Many of them are in the strategic plan, and it's just not written in the exact same way. When I went through this, I can't see. When I went through this, when it talks about student success, the idea of there was a particular one that stood out to me. So assisting learners to use creative sensibilities in day-to-day life situations, enable learners to achieve a balanced growth as a social being in tune with culturally responsive behaviors. That's something that's going to take them connecting with more than just each other. They have to go out and engage with people, again, different generations, different areas within the community. I think it definitely points to that, but again, it's not, they're two completely separate, kind of documents. So the language that we use in our strategic plan and the language that's used in the white paper is different. It's just my hope that folks kind of take a look at the white paper and/or I'll share another link. There's like a introduction call that's like an hour where they give very high level. They do a better job of explaining the document than I, and then they do go into like 3 different organizations who are working diligently to implement this type of system in their school community.
Are any of the schools currently used for other purposes other than school from 8:30 to 3? And I'm not including aftercare. Do you use any of your buildings for a camp or campus example, as an example?
Yeah, the fitness center is open to the public.
So fitness center is an example of something that's open to the public. I believe we do camps in the summer.
Yeah.
Right? Most of the elementary schools have camps in them.
Highview has the Cub Scouts. The local Cub Scout group meets at Highview.
Okay.
And then there's a setup in which you can use the facility, and if you're within the community, we usually waive the fee as long as we pass the budget every year. And so people do come in and use the athletic field sometimes, and occasionally I've seen neighborhood groups actually come and use actually the high school a little bit.
Yeah. And neighboring schools, we also use, LaFell comes over and use our track for, we rent some of our support services to them to use our track for practice, and our students go elsewhere to play soccer. So we have partnerships like that,
Okay.
practice for soccer.
The community garden
I was about to say that.
yeah, okay.
The community garden
Is
is
it-
open to the community, and all morning and all day you see community people gardening there and picking fresh vegetables and keeping it up, even nurturing it. So
Most of the latest generation of playground equipment in a couple of our schools there were agreements with the town of Greenburgh, and we would split the cost, and then after hours that people could, they would act as like public playgrounds. I think Bailey has one of those agreements. I think Leah Jackson has one of those.
all of our playgrounds, I think, are open to the public after hours.
So I think that means that we are currently doing some of the things, but what would it look like to have a specific time that groups of people get together at the community garden around a specific effort or a specific idea. So again, that's something that brings the community together more. I think that the thoughts like that are a part of where I believe this particular document is sharing. So how do we think about expanding the things that we currently have, and how do we think about reimagining some of the things that we don't have to do today?
And put it in the other direction, think about the Theodore Young Community Center and all of the after-school youth programs, stuff that they have going there.
Right.
And there's a connection between, a lot of our students make use of that. And it's not just the swimming pool.
Right, as well as the library. And maybe the nature center. These are all opportunities of places to connect, directly back into the school community. I believe you're going to say something like that.
No, I'm trying to look at this. Is this our strategic plan?
I believe so.
This is our communication section, okay? Because
Yes.
Yeah, we have different drafts.
Different drafts, okay.
So this is a more detailed
Okay,
draft,
so you went over those.
which is the raw stuff from after the subcommittees came back.
This was the latest. I believe this was the latest I saw. Did you have another question, Ms. Horn, or another comment?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to share or mention?
Well, I would say that one of the places where we're not siloing is that we did put our information and technology goals under infrastructure as a subset. So your interaction between technology and infrastructure is already kind of built into a certain extent.
Right.
And that's one of our, what I thought was one of our success stories, that we had actually gotten to the point at which every student had a laptop.
Yep.
And we had mapped out what places had good Wi-Fi and what places didn't. We had some hotspots that we loaned out in some cases where there wasn't a good Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
It's not 100% in terms of Wi-Fi being great, but I will say that we got a laptop into the hands of every student prior to the pandemic. So when we had to swap over from in-person instruction to remote instruction, we were ready. Okay, a lot more ready than a lot of other school districts. So I was kind of pleased by that and felt like we had looked out for the students, at least in one way, and were able to respond to something that wasn't expected because we had laid some groundwork.
Right, and there was one of the examples that I was reading where that infrastructure in terms of laptops and things to that effect, where where the school district worked directly in conjunction with the local or the county. I think it was they worked with the county, and they wound up splitting some of the costs associated with making sure that everybody had everything that they needed, and it also was directed at people outside of the school building. So making sure that people who didn't have proper Wi-Fi and things to that effect at home, who they wanted to have some level of engagement with young people, where they got that as well. So I think that as we kind of open our minds and continue to think about it, as we continue to look at what our key action plans are around the strategic plan, once again, we're all going to be a part of executing on this. And, I just want everybody to keep their heads and hearts open to make sure that all the best ideas float to the top, and that those get, priority in how we execute on the strategic plan. So if no one has anything else, I am going to actually provide some time for Johan Snaggs of the Fairview Empowerment Group to speak to what's going on with the Fairview Empowerment Group and what community engagement might look like with them. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and ask Johan to
stand. Can you all see me and hear me okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll probably be out of frame if you stand.
Out of frame. I'm not that tall. So my name is Johan Snaggs. I'm the chairperson for the Fairview Empowerment Group. We're a group of, we were a group of volunteers up until this summer. We're officially a 501c3, at least recognized in New York State. And our mission really is to help usher restorative justice to the Fairview community. That means that we're focused on 4 pillars. Food justice, energy sustainability, financial wellness, and education, which Tracy, who's a member of the Central School District Board, helped introduce to the group as well. So ultimately, being that we're a new organization, we're trying to get the word out about our mission overall. And part of our efforts included summer festivals. There were 4 over the summer. I'm not sure if any of you were aware or were able to attend. But we were able to introduce our mission overall and also introduce our sponsor, Soulful Synergy. Their focus is on renewable energy, workforce development, and we're partnering with them on several different levels to bring educational elements to the community, not just about financial viability, but energy sustainability and the jobs and opportunities that exist within that space. The reason why I'm here today is because the Fairview Empowerment Group is working with the town, Supervisor Feiner and Commissioner Terrence Jackson, to try to bring some type of market to Greenburgh for the holiday seasons. The hope was to be able to have a permanent place for the entire holiday season, but as time would have it, we haven't been able to exactly get that planned out as of yet. So we're looking for a venue to host 1 or 2 pop-up type of events. And because of the community engagement efforts that you're undertaking at this time, we think it's an opportune time for us to partner with the Greenburgh Central School District to be able to deliver that type of events to the community overall. Our vision is to include the youth, being the future, their parents, and community members at large. Just listening in, this is the first time I'm participating in this meeting, just listening in to some of the objectives and priorities that have been brought up. One of them being developing at least one outward facing event that could engage the community and bring other individuals, invested individuals into the fold to help make the ecosystem of education within Greenburgh a little bit more robust. Within this community, I've only been a member of Greenburgh for the last 8 or 9 years, and I've noticed that a lot of times with the residents that I've spoken to, they're engaged for the length of time that their students are involved or in attendance with the school, and then after that, they kind of disengage. So I'm thinking, we're thinking that this might be a great way to engage a different audience within the Fairview Empowerment Group and the Central School District, and kind of foster an environment where we could share the ideas of what we're trying to bring to the community, both us and with the Central School District. And I like the idea that you mentioned before about creating the school as the center of the community, because ultimately everybody that has children, they're involved for the sake of making sure their children grow up and are successful adults. But beyond that, if we're able to engage community members on a different level, maybe a different wavelength than just the community, just the educational element, I think we could get a higher level of engagement overall. And just because of the proximity of them being involved in the school, might be more so willing to be involved with the activities of the school district overall. So to that end, one of the ideas that we were kicking around was the Taste of Greenburgh that the Woodlands High School have hosted in the past.
Greenburgh Taste Off, yeah.
Right. So I haven't necessarily been involved. I've heard of it at least a couple of years ago. Just thinking about how we were able to pull the community together, even to a small degree with the vendor events that we had over the summer, we had the festivals. I'm thinking it might make sense. And I wanted to propose that we partner on an event like that. So it's not just a food element, but also vendors from within the community of Greenburgh and even beyond, just to get more people involved and engaged in that type of marketplace experience. And you have a captive audience once they are part of it. And it'll be a great opportunity to share collateral about what you're doing, what your vision is for Greenburgh Central School District, as well as the strategic plan, right? We have some ideas of how we're hoping to partner with Central School District, and some of those we've already kind of discussed casually as well. But my secretary, Leslie Davis, the Fairview Empowerment Group, will formally be presenting a proposal of sorts to get more engagement and hopefully partner with the Central School District on some educational opportunities for in the future as well. So sorry for the long-winded introduction, but ultimately we're hoping to partner with you all on a holiday event marketplace between now and Christmas season, to be able to engage the community at a higher level and hopefully get some engagement from both the student body, parents, and neighbors and community members at large.
Something that popped up, by way of question for me, Dr. Iverson, are there any, school groups that you know of that are, entrepreneurship and focused, or, are there areas in school where young people are expressing, some desire for business or to sell things or anything like that?
No, not yet.
Okay.
That's all built into our strategic plan and is coming in under the area of SEL as we add climate and culture, where we have listed some actions that will survey and begin to elicit that kind of information from students, so we can build from there. Financial literacy being another area that's we've talked about. So presently not in place, but we're looking to build that in our plan over the next 5 years.
That's awesome. I want to encourage everybody that's participating to visit our website. It's fairviewempowermentgroup.org. Again, we're a new organization, so don't judge us. We're building. But just about everything we're interested in doing is laid out there in a comprehensive way. And we're hoping to be able to deliver more programming for the youth and for adults in general down the road. That includes financial literacy. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, Dr. Holmes.
Thank you.
So your secretary, the proposal she's developing, is she going to be in touch so we can
She
begin that
is going to be in
conversation,
touch.
get something? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would love to meet with her and see that, and see what we did.
Glad to hear.
Perfect. Jessica?
Hi, thank you for all that information. I am part of the Highview PTA board, and we tried to piggyback on with your event that was at Presser Park at the end of August, once we got the dates. So just, I think that alignment between what the district's doing, what the PTAs within the district are doing, what you're doing, I think it will just keep building that community bond and seeing like, oh, all of these events are supporting our students, supporting our community, and how we can work together. I missed the taste off, having gone for a couple of years, was always good. But that was done by the Booster Club. So I don't know if there's anyone yes, representing here. But it was always a really interesting event. So I think, again, something else that exists, hasn't happened because of COVID, but could, really have a lot of people from the community coming in. So I think there are some great ways to partner together.
So let me ask you, do you have insurance yet?
No.
Okay, FNBC, if they can get insurance, you can get insurance.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Due to the nature of the partnership we have with the town of Greenburgh, it was required at the time, but it is something that we can do.
Okay, and so you want a day event, you maybe want to take like the large gym and maybe the small gym as well, depending on the scale?
I was thinking, and again, I've only seen some documentation of the events online, but my understanding was it were potentially 2 gyms that could be available, right?
Yes.
Thinking out loud, one of them would be food exclusive and the other one would be kind of a marketplace for, vendors and artists and whomever might be interested in selling because my thinking, or we could do a mix of both.
And what normally happens is they sell tickets, or sometimes they sell tickets at the door, and then people, you end up with wristbands. You walk around to the different booths, and usually we have somebody roaming around with a wireless microphone, and then you can have little events and things happening and short speeches, as long as everything is not too long-winded, and you can, I'd like to direct your attention to the event about to start over in the small gymnasium, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And you run through it, and you have a certain, like a nice several-hour window, so it's kind of relaxed,
Yes.
and giving people a chance to circulate around.
Certainly, that's the only thing.
And you probably would want to do it, obviously before, well, actually, let's see.
After Thanksgiving, but before.
It's after Thanksgiving, right, so it's got to be in the month of
Christmas
December.
holidays, that's right.
It's got to be in the month of December,
So
so.
we Saturday, we probably,
Yeah, I think a Saturday would be best.
so the 3rd, 10th, or 17th.
Yeah, the 24th is probably not a
Not
good
that
idea.
way, yeah.
3rd, 10th, or 17th. Okay, so you have to go and make a facilities request as an external
I
organization.
would say the earlier the better after Thanksgiving, only because people are really serious about their shopping.
That's true.
And, visiting family and the like. So it sounds like the 3rd and what was the other one? The 3rd, the 10th?
3rd, the 10th, or the 17th.
So probably the 10th would be the opportunity.
And you have to figure out.
10th would be better because you want people to come before they shop.
Because of sports. But
Right.
we will see.
Right.
We know for sure.
Okay.
that.
You mentioned the ticket sales. Once the vendors participate, the food vendors in this case, are they selling or are they tasting? I'm assuming they're paying to participate. Is that accurate?
What was it in Texas? I don't know.
I don't remember there being, usually, they were mostly food vendors. They were mostly from inside of Greenburgh, and they were giving away free food. So
Okay.
there was a cost for them for the samples.
I
So
see.
I'm not really sure that, we have to check with Falcon Nest Booster Club to see what they did.
Right. And we have to figure out. how
And you're trying to win the contest, right? And then-
I can connect with them and I don't know whether, perhaps they will want to just, I feel like they did a virtual one this year that was more just, for fundraising because COVID was still,
Okay.
it was, COVID was a concern. But perhaps in December, they'd be more keen to do it. I can,
Okay.
do that.
So 2 miles, it's a fundraising event, ticket entries for people that patrons. as well as for vendors. I'm not sure how they made arrangements with food vendors to some degree, but if they were giving away food in the past. Whether or not that would be a sustainable model, because if we're going to have vendors that are actually selling material goods, at that point, obviously, they're not going to be able to give away their stuff
Right.
there for the sake of.
Right.
So
So I think what we
We have to go and look at our policies and make sure that they don't step on one of them are in the policy. So we have to go look at a policy manual, right?
Well,
We've got an email address for you, right?
yes,
so I think what we can do is I need to reach out to the Booster Club.
I don't think they have one yet. They just have a brand new president
Okay, so
of the high school.
okay,
And I spoke with her and said, are you also doing booster? I didn't get a definitive answer. I would,
FMBC is a separate organization, right? So
there's a transition in the leadership. Who's the president and the PTA president, all child left and they graduated. So we have the membership and the leadership there. They're cultivating that now.
so
we're allowed.
excuse the ignorance, the Booster Club student organization with
no,
the-
it wasn't a student organization. It was run by one of the students' parents. I think, Mr. Jackson. Yeah.
Okay.
Who was also president, but he did both.
Right, and then the proceeds, so some of it kind of went to athletic awards night and some of it, right, so they divided it up. And some of the proceeds came back to the benefit of the students,
Okay.
as a result of that.
So yeah, I think what we'll have to do is start to, put it down on, all of it down on paper, and then and go through it in some type of, some type of meeting.
We do have some time.
But no.
Well,
I said that. I got you.
Just don't go here like that.
Exactly. I think Sylvia, you said something that I don't think we heard. No?
She's muted. Wait, sorry, wrong person.
Yeah, no, she is. But I thought she said something. But if not, it's okay. Okay, so thank you for that. I definitely appreciate it. The next on the agenda is Superintendent Updates, and Dr. Iverson, if you just want to give us some updates on back to school and or where we are with the strategic plan and anything else you'd like to share.
So first, please accept my apologies for being tardy. But this meeting is so important. I was looking forward to getting here because we have done some work since our last meeting. And when we left that meeting, we did talk about the strategic plan. And I think I said to the committee that there will be a presentation to the board, which there was, on phase 3 of the plan, which we did, is what I think we went over all of the subgroups, all the sub areas. Each committee presented there, and what you just saw on the screen there, metrics, their action plans, their timelines, resources, all the details of that area. So I won't bore you by going over all the areas. I see Trustee Warner shared the community. I was going to share with you tonight what that looked like in communications, because when we left the last meeting, I said I needed to wait until the board, we presented to the board. So that's been presented to the board. You shared that. So I don't know if they have questions about some of the actions, items and things that you discussed on it before I got here around the communications. But so that's where we are with the strategic plan and communications. The next phase of this for all the areas is now we're going to fine tune with the board, another small committee, 1 meeting, 3 board members. Trustee Warner's on it, Trustee, I think Pineda, and there are 3
Chris Valley.
3 trustees, 3 central office members. We are now at the final phase of identifying our final metrics and benchmarks that will determine our success of the plan over the 5 years. So the benchmarks will be for the 5 years, as well as some incremental benchmarks along the way, so that we're measuring our progress up to the 5 years. So we don't get to 5 years and determine we did not make progress. That's what this committee is going to be doing very shortly. We're determining dates. We're waiting on dates. And once we get dates, I met with Ed McCormick today. And he's talking to Trustee Warner about 1 day, 2 hours. if we can, we're looking for a date, we meet with the
And we
trustees.
have a list of the dates that all three board members are and are not available. Yeses and nos, and a little column chart. So we can pick from those dates. It goes through October. If we bleed in November, we have to go back. But
Okay, did you have those?
that was an email from the board president.
Yes,
All right, so let's make sure you get that.
yes. Okay, so then I know I'll give those dates to Ed McCormick. We'll look at that. And so we're going to be fine tuning what the metrics will be around all areas of the strategic plan. So, and some of the key actions you noticed that were there for communication, because that was something we talked about, just in terms of just how we do better at this piece of communicating, engaging the community, building partnerships, connecting all the pieces of the strategic plan. And I really think communications is that piece that's going to connect all of the other sub areas of the strategic plan. So we don't have the silo kind of approach, because we're doing 5 focus areas, but the way we communicate the areas is where communications is going to bridge that gap, I think. So it's going to be very important that we do that and do that well. So some of the key actions that were identified by that committee will do exactly that. And they have very clear language in their objective to expand communications community-wide to reach all cultural, ethnic, racial, senior groups, and stakeholders. So when we, through that vehicle, communicate, we will communicate around all of the areas of the strategic plan. So no area will be out there lacking communication around infrastructure or student success. The communications in this plan will connect to everything we're doing in the district in the plan over the next 5 years. So that's the bridge, I think, that connects everything. So it's not in silos. So some of the things mentioned there, Trustee Thomas pulled them up on the screen for you, but they had about 7 to 8 key action plans there that they're going to work on. The timeline is there. Resources we're going to fill in, and then the benchmarks. But one of the ones I would want to cite to you is that ensure that all school-wide communication to school communities from building principals incorporates a welcoming and affirming environment. We know we need to work on that. Ensure consistent and transparent communications are distributed in a timely manner. Create an online communication toolkit that clearly outlines every district communication channel, including each channel's frequency and purpose. Provide our families and stakeholders meaningful opportunities to engage with and provide feedback. Identify opportunities to engage the residents who do not have children, which we've talked about here many times, enrolled in the district, finding ways to engage them. And ensure that they get communication, identify community liaison role to expand the community partnerships, and reach out to town hall representatives for ideas on how to communicate with the greater Greenburgh community. So you see, we're right on the same page that you are on in terms of connecting all of the areas that we need to communicate around our strategic plan. So these are the strategies that we will put in place. So these are the ones we would be adopting in this body to do.
Right. Yes, it's community engagement and communication. So, we'll clearly be part of these key action plans.
So some other things, thank you, I know that. So I'm sorry, there's a question.
Yeah, so with all the communication be able, or
Be translated, absolutely.
It's not for only Spanish speaking, there's other language now that people speak that they're, learning English.
So we have a vehicle now that translates in many, many languages. So we're looking to ensure that it is in all languages that are representative of our student and family communication and population. Yes. So some other, you mentioned white paper earlier. It's amazing. It's just timely that I just heard Trustee Thomas talk about that. I have a weekly communications meeting, as I share with this body every week. We meet on Mondays, and that conversation was around developing a white paper around those key buckets of successes we have in the district, or just informative information that we want to now start marketing our district out to the community. I have a schedule developed to meet with several boards to take this white paper when it's developed. I've set meetings set up to meet with several boards in the community to just begin to keep that conversation open, sharing what's going on well in the district, hand them this white paper, as well as we develop trifolds for every program in the district that will, they're folded and try, and if you open it, it's a nice little cover on the front with our logo, but inside is the sort of a snapshot of our IB program, our AP courses, our ENL, our literacy program, our math. We're developing right now as we speak trifolds to help market. When I'm out on the road, I can give these things around in these meetings and leave them there. So our residents, young and old, can always have in front of them what's going on in the district. So these are the additional things that I was not part of the communication subgroup, but it fits in here in terms of other ways we're looking to expand communications in the district. I've begun to, I don't know if parents on the call got this, but I've begun to use School Messenger myself through voice message. Did anyone on the call, did you get my message Sunday? I sent a voice. You got it, Ms.
I
Mulder?
received it.
Yes.
I received it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know
I did
that
as
worked.
well.
So,
did.
okay, I did that by myself. And so I learned School Messenger, and I wanted to send a voice message. I send one verbally, one in writing every Friday, or sometimes it's a video. So that's we've upped that rigor. Me being able to on the spot, be able to send a quick text, a quick email, or voice message. So getting it out to our families. Where we need to continue to work is to ensure that all phone numbers and email addresses are correct. So my last couple of messages have said, parents, please update your contact information, because I get a report that says how many were successfully delivered, how many were not. And we still have a large number that we're not reaching. And I think it's because we don't have updated information. So we're gonna need to push that. If you've moved, if you've changed your number, your email, we need you to update that on the line. Once you do it through that portal, it connects to our information system. So when messages are programmed, you get them. So, so we're continuing to look to increase our communication through making sure we reach all of our constituents, young and old, in the community. So you will see some of those examples of our trifolds and the white paper. The board will see them first, of course, once they're developed, but we are in the process of doing that as we speak, so we can start getting the word out. We are going to, and it was brought up at our last meeting, we're an IB district. We've purchased IB flags to be posted on the entrances of our district, on Hartsdale and in the back by Dalewood, that street, I forget what it's called. But so we can start selling our district and marketing our district for the great things that are happening. We're about to go into budget season. We'll have a trifold around the budget in general. We'll do another budget newsletter, as we've always done, as we start going around sharing information about the pieces of the budget too that will be noteworthy for parents in the community to hear. So know that it's just an ongoing goal that we're working on. Some great things, I think, that we're trying to elevate the level of rigor around communication, engaging more, and doing more of the surveys to get information from our parents and our students about what they want to see. We're working on food service. The last meeting, we talked about food service. Since that meeting, we've done some great strides. We have a meeting coming up with the corporate office of Aramark, where we've invited a parent from every school to be a part of that committee. The CEO himself will be there. We've been very clear with him around some changes we need to see if they want the contract to continue. And he's very excited about wanting to sit down with this committee. So bring your ideas, parent reps from your community about our food. We want to elevate that level of food service to our students. They deserve it. And we've started that in terms of building a bridge and having community members and parents more involved in that. Do you want to talk about that at all, Ms. Ives? Anything about that? I know she's one of our parents, I think, who's going to be on it, correct?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be representing IU. Not yet. I'm excited to see what comes of it. I guess I will briefly say that I feel that I noticed that this is a culmination of efforts over the last couple of years and on and off for the last, I think, 10 years of parents really getting involved and wanting to see changes. And we've had some very strong parents taking leadership roles over the last couple of years, doing some legwork, doing some research, and bringing those findings into a communal space. So I'm excited to see what those parents bring to the table and what
Yes.
Aramark brings. It feels collaborative. I think that's one of the things I'll be looking forward to in the meetings.
Yes. And so we've begun some of the things that this committee has established as goals. We have begun some of that is what I would like to share.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing on that. I think a lot of these efforts have been spearheaded and organized by our PTAs.
Yes.
So any of the parents who are listening or family members who are listening who want a voice in that, please join and contact your PTA so that those conversations can be heard and we can all be in touch with one another through the PTAs.
That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Iverson?
No, I have things to say, but they're not questions for Dr. Iverson.
Well, so the final component of the agenda is if anybody has any upcoming events that they want to mention, and then questions, comments, and concerns.
Okay, so I'm gonna say my piece and okay, so last time we talked a little bit about contact lists. And I'm checking with the town of Greenburgh for updated civic association contact information. They have a master list of all the civic associations in the entire town, and we're a subset of that. And I know our stuff is out of date because some of the contact people we've got are no longer alive. So, so we're working on that. I've reached out to.
I imagine related to that, if I out to, I mean, we have, I think it's, I forgot what the number of people, 100 and something that are on the community engagement. Most people don't reply and things to that effect. But I imagine that a lot of people would be within those civic associations. But so for the people who do reply, maybe we could just put together an email that asks who is your representative. Does each association have a president or vice president or you know, what would the question be to ask?
So Lloyd Court, what civic association do you belong to or organize and or lead, right? So yes. Manny Reese's. We have a couple of people who actually are leaders of civic associations already. And we can certainly add to that. Tom Bach, right? But yes, we can always add on to that. So that's a good query. Above and beyond that, because I know the civic association list in the town, it's only what people bring to them. So for example, you may want to talk to Dr. Betty Perkins and find out who is the best contact for the Sonoma Civic Association, because I don't believe that was on the last generation of the list, but I'm certain that there's a group that's active.
Yes.
So we need to pull that in. I think the next step is also to bring in other organizations. I think we may have, you know, someone has contact information for the Key Club and for the Rotary Club because we have existing relationships with them, but we need to be able to broadcast to them and get feedback from them as well. So that's the next piece after that. In terms of upcoming events, there will be a 50th anniversary of WISE celebration in late April. WISE, the Woodlands Individualized Senior Experience, is something that high school seniors over the past 50 years have been participating in on a regular basis. It was the cure for senioritis. So in the spring, you would instead of doing whatever other people wanted you to do, you would come up with your own project, whatever it was you wanted to learn about, whatever it was you wanted to do. It could be an external placement in which you might explore a career. It could be a research project, and you would have a mentor whom you would select. You would keep a daily journal. You would give a final presentation in front of a panel of people that included your peers who would judge, you know, this is what I studied. This is what I learned. This was my journey. And that also allowed for a lot of interaction with the rest of the community. Are you by any chance a WISE graduate?
I am absolutely a WISE graduate.
Okay, so WISE has been going on for 50 years. So we're going to have a 50th anniversary celebration of it in late April. The WISE task force is planning this. There will be an evening dinner event off-site. There will be a tree planting on the Woodlands campus during the school day. We will honor the memory of WISE co-founder Vic Leviathan and WISE coordinator Dr. Constantine Adriatis. They both passed on. The town of Greenburgh is considering naming a street or providing a street sign for us to add to our campus if we want to do that. I don't know if the town has contacted us yet, but they have the machinery for making the signs. They were thinking about naming something after Good Leviathan. The board hasn't discussed this yet. The only other item, so that's one upcoming event. So, you know, that's a save the date for the weekend on the end of April.
Is there anything that you need from anybody in the community, or are there opportunities for anybody to be involved if they so choose?
There is a WISE task force that meets on Thursdays at 9:45 a.m. at Woodlands High School in the WISE room. If anybody is a WISE alumni or is in any way interested in this, you are welcome to show up to the WISE task force. And as we get closer to the date, we'll probably want to, we're going to be publicizing, like, save the date. It may be $50 a plate if you want to do the evening, the evening piece. And as we firm things up, there may be opportunities for people to do things. Yes. So the answer is yes. Yes, Mr. Stan.
Woodlands individual student was the experience.
And so the Woodlands individualized student experience was just at Woodlands High School. And then some of the co-founders who were young teachers when they started reached retirement age, and then they decided as their retirement career to go out and spread WISE throughout other school districts. So there were as many at one time as maybe 100 different school districts throughout the United States that were WISE school districts. And now I think since those people have kind of passed on, it's down to maybe 30 or 40 school districts. But you know that started here. So that's a piece of our history, and it's still ongoing. So yes, it's a
The students get class credit.
They get class credit for it. Yes, they get. I think it started out as a sociology class, so they get a social studies credit that you would normally be taking a civics course, and there are things that we teach them and that are participatory, and there are curriculum elements in there that allow us to do that above and beyond what's in the project. And then there's also a physical education piece, and you log your hours, or you know, if you're on a sports team, you're home free, but otherwise you've got to do something to keep yourself physically fit, and you get credit both ways. And so as a result, there are courses that you might have to be in school taking, and maybe you don't have to take them because you're taking this WISE. And then you meet with your mentor once a week and have a Friday get together in which we give you some of the things that you have to deal with in common, give you workshops, and then the rest of the time you can go off to whatever your placement is or do your research. So there's a lot more academic freedom. It's almost like a college course.
Yeah, it sounds like
so many students that people who I went to school with, my brother actually, who still works in the same area that they took, you know, at WISE. Like he worked in MetLife, he got into the finance, I worked Spinner, like, you know, I know a number of friends who were in the music industry, still in the music industry. They started it, you know, internships. That's what I did my internship on. You know,
so it's almost like a precursor to a career opportunity.
Yes, it can be either, oh, I learned about this and I wanted to be a doctor, but I find out that I faint at the sight of blood. So, okay, that's not going to be my career. Or I wanted to be a doctor and I find out I'm great at this. And then I go full speed ahead forward. They can work either way. So it's a very good way of getting yourself out into the world and coming to understand who you are.
Right.
So yes, I highly recommend to any senior that has the opportunity to take WISE.
We'll hopefully talk about it in more detail down the road, but I'm curious about the process, not for now, but later discussion of the employers that you might solicit for the apprenticeships or
Sure. So there's a whole big network of WISE graduates, the alumni, who sometimes look back and offer themselves as placement. So, for example, I mentored a student who looked at the BOCES program. She was interested in becoming a chef, and then we showed her that, and then we also showed her a person who owned a restaurant in Dobbs Ferry, who had been a graduate of the WISE program 20 years earlier. And she looked and said, you know, what do I want on my resume? I think this one's a little better, a little higher end than the other one. So I'm going for that. And that leverage that, and there's your community involvement again, right?
Yeah,
And that works very well. It has for generations.
very cool.
Okay, and I have one other item, which is the next Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. Is this coming April 20th at 6:30 p.m. in the Innovation Lab at Woodlands, or you can log in online. We expect a presentation from Con Edison Solutions on the proposed energy performance contract. So, yes.
Sorry, David, you said April 20th?
Yeah. Okay.
We were talking about why it's in April. Is the FinFest October 20th?
It is October 20th.
Thank you.
And that has a couple of different, very interesting components to it. So what's happening, you're trying to do $100 million worth of work without spending $100 million. So what can you do? You can make your buildings much more energy efficient. And then that money goes to the difference in what your utility bills actually are once they get done doing the work and what you're actually paying. That you hand that money off to the people who did the work, and that reimburses them for all the work they did. And then as a result of that, there's no net increase to what it costs, but you've got all these things fixed in a better condition and more energy efficient than before. And when you're done, well, you've got the improved schools still sitting there. So that's, I think, going to take a goodly chunk out of what's in our building condition survey that needs to be fixed. At least in terms of furnaces and all the HVAC stuff. And so we have high hopes for this. We're also considering putting up a, if you've been to the football field, there's a large dirt parking lot. And part of one component of this thing is possibly a battery energy storage system and solar panels. And they're considering now putting up a carport in that area, paving that, and then using the solar energy from that to charge up those batteries, and then we get an income stream from that as well. So it's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to the presentation. So not April 20th, October 20th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
I'd be interested in sitting on that too. I'm also a member of the planning board for the town of Greenburgh. So we have some comprehensive studies already done on energy, on renewable energy, and that includes battery storage as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Leslie Davis, who I mentioned as secretary, is actually heading up a sustainable energy committee for the planning board as well. So I'll make sure she's aware of it and participate as well.
Wonderful.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns that they'd like to bring up this evening? Well, as always, it is lovely to see you all, and I appreciate everybody's attendance tonight, and hope to see you again next month. And on that note, I move that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we adjourn. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Zachary.
Thank you.
I'm done.